Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. Tonight's episode, kicking at our action movie channel here on the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, here with RDV. Tonight, we are talking about something that probably should not have been made, but thankfully, Nicolas Cage had been bankrupt and been trying to make films for the paycheck to keep his real estate empire alive. And so we're blessed/cursed with a movie called JuJitsu. And for all you nincompoops out there that want to get on me for the spelling of it or the pronunciation of Alan Musei's name or anything like that, I don't want to hear it and I don't care. But then again, nobody listens to this channel anyway, RDV. So it's just for the hardcore extreme fans. I don't know what to make of this movie. It's awful. It's not as bad as Wally's Wonderland Nick Cage recently did as well, which I know you've not seen yet, RDV. That one's disturbingly bad and awful, not good at all. And it's very sad because you and I on the Two Extreme Horror Show covered Mandy. We both loved it. And so we know that the output for Nick Cage has got a lot of hits, got a lot more misses. And I don't know where to put this one here, too. I'm just shaking my head at how awful and weird and dumb this film is. And yet I couldn't turn my eyes away. What say you?
It was awful. And I could tell right away by why this movie bombed before I even know. Because I didn't look up anything. I just went in there blind. He used to recommend this movie. He's like, oh, watch this JuJitsu. So I watch it. Nicolas Cage in there. And I'm watching. I'm like, as soon as I saw the freaking alien thing in there, I was like, what the hell am I watching? Because the CG for the alien was stupid. It was worse than Godzilla. It's like this.
Yeah, it was.
This. And so I'm watching this. And the martial arts is good. I love the martial arts. I love the choreography. But everything I'm going against an alien warrior who taught people 2,000 years ago and taught people jujitsu. Come on, really? I don't know who comes
up with it. It's an alternative human theory that, sounds somewhat plausible, but it comes across as kind of... It's the execution of this film because, to your point, this movie's got a great cast. Of course, Nick Cage, I'm not going to say he's the star of the movie, but he's definitely in it. Tony Jaa, not the star of the movie, definitely in it. We've talked about some of his films there. We've tried hitting some different cultures and tried to look at some different types of martial arts films, not just the martial art itself, but the actors and the background to it. And of course, this, I guess, is an American film or whatever, but it's got a nice international cast. And, I never have a problem with unleashing Canadian violence, and that's why Alan Musei's in it. And I saw him on the Kickboxer reboots, and I said, hey, that's not bad. He's a super flippity-floppity guy, but he's a bit more jacked looking than the average dude. So, like you say, the martial arts are good, but it's such a ripoff of Hardcore Henry, and of course, the obvious one that comes to mind when you're talking to aliens is Predator. He's running through the woods.
Yes.
The Predator's hunting him down. I mean, the only thing missing is Predator vision.
That's basically what I got from this. So I was like, first, it was like, okay, this guy, he's running through and he's being chased by what looks like predators. They can see him thermal. They can see him. He gets knocked out. Jumps off a cliff, goes in the water and gets knocked out. It's brought this little fisher, this group of it. But apart from that, when this guy is over by the military base there interrogating him, his friend, this guy showed Tony Jaa, shows up, and he's like, and he starts fighting it, and you're seeing it from his point of view, and then you're also seeing it from when they're escaping. You're seeing it from this guy, whatever his name is, Alain Musei, I think that's what it is. I can't remember. I don't know what it is.
Canadian violence guy.
Yeah, yes. Reboot Jean-Claude Van Damme, I guess, kickboxer. Anyway, so I'm watching this, and then I'm like, yeah, I got Hardcore Henry, and then you said, it just felt like I was watching Predator, but with martial arts. It's like, and then Predator's like, we just came to your planet just to hunt you and do Mortal Kombat. It's like, okay. And what really irritated me is the fact that this guy he can't be killed. So I'm like, wait, so it's supposed to be this guy is upset that this guy ran away. The alien's upset, it was offensive to him that he ran away like a coward. The dude cheats. He has unlimited shurikens. He has healing abilities. Freaking Wolverine. Tell me it's a fair fight? No. And I kept thinking, like, I called it before they even got to the end. I figured, like, the only way you're going to kill this guy is if you shove a grenade at him or you chop his head off.
And
it was some,
this alien has to fight these jujitsu masters like by midnight or something, because if he doesn't, then he kills like everybody on the planet or something. Yeah. So it's like, really? You needed that for an excuse? I mean, okay, I guess. Whatever. I will say that, you know, you and I had covered Hardcore Henry a while back, and it was a very interesting film. And the interesting thing about Hardcore Henry to me was the fact that being a very cheap film shot with like GoPro cameras and stuff, is at the time it was cutting edge. And I think it did a very good job of saying, okay, what can we do with the GoPro? Makes you feel like it's a video game. And I believe I had mentioned there that it was almost exhausting watching it, because that's 95% of the movie, and it's not bad, but it just doesn't allow you to get emotionally attached to the character. It's kind of neat. So it's hard to, I think, say it's a great film. It might be a decent or a good film or an interesting film with some great ideas to it. And that's where, at least in my opinion, Hardcore Henry shines, because as one note as it is, it delivers. Here, you've got all this mix of stuff, and there's not like a glue guy or glue person or a situation that all this puts together. And it's certainly not Nick Cage, because when we see Nick Cage, Jake, you know, played by Alan, is, you know, running through the woods, and he literally kind of like falls in like this hole in the ground, like, you know, like a hobbit hole or something. Mm-hmm. And Nick Cage is like this whole master sort of thing. And while I appreciate Nick Cage being in martial arts and also physically a big dude, he's like 6'4", he's not a small guy. Yeah. It was really obvious with the stunt doubles in him that okay, he tried doing as much as he could, and his energy was there that everybody loves Nick Cage for. But it's one of those things where I'm watching this film going, it's just not clicking. And even the Hardcore Henry scene with Tony Jaa, and it goes on for like 5 minutes towards the beginning, and it's a good scene. It's really neat what they do it, but it's exhausting in a way that you go, okay, no one's gonna die, no one's gonna get hurt. You're gonna see guys kind of fall and land on the haystack that it's got the cushion padding underneath, and you know it. So to me, I'm like, it's creative what they were doing. The flow of it looks good. But to me, I've got one big flaw with this movie, and I'm going to ask you what you think about this, because I thought this is a pet peeve of yours. There were scenes in here with the martial arts where I'm going, hey, I would love to see this real time, the speed. Not necessarily a lot of choppy camera, but they definitely sped it up.
Yeah,
and like early on, you see them, and it's like, this dude's a good-looking guy. He's handsome. He doesn't look like a little boy. I mean, and he's jacked enough. I mean, he's got great moves. He's a legit martial artist. We've seen him in other things too, but movies we haven't covered to this point. And even the people that he's fighting, no matter what their style is or their size, the fights have some neat stuff to them, but then they just get where it's so obvious they're speeding up. It looks like we're going back to Goldfinger and James Bond driving the car all sped up until it crashes. It looks awful. Am I wrong about that?
No, it's just it did look kind of awful, but I did like the fact that the stunt double, like, it's supposed to be Nicolas Cage. I was like, even though I know it's not, obviously, you know, Nicolas Cage, old guy, is not doing it, but I'm like, if someone, you know, as a kid would be like, dude, the guy actually did it. It looked believable for your kid. But knowing Nicolas Cage doesn't do that kind of flips and all stuff, that stunt double really like him a lot, you know. It's just, you know, right. Just they got it really down to the T as far as everything.
Tell me one thing you really liked about the film.
I said what I really liked the film. I'm trying to think, because I did like the fight scene with Tony in the beginning. Frank Grillo, man, in this. I'm coming off of Frank Grillo high, having watched him in Boss Level. He was phenomenal in that.
Watched him in what?
Boss Level.
Oh, okay. I have not seen it. Okay.
It's on Hulu. So see him just being the normal dick that he is, and just was fun.
Dick charisma.
and then he, even when he got to like the end where he dies, that scene, he's like, fuck you. He just gives the guy a finger.
kind of a They Live ripoff almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to me, one thing I'll say that I think was really good about this film is that, obviously this guy doesn't remember what's going on, but of course he remembers his ability to fight. He finds out things along the way. You have your big fight at the end where everybody gets their shit in, and of course he wins. Blah blah blah. Okay, whatever. Just a little sci-fi alien bent for goofiness factor. The thing that I thought was pretty neat about it was, and I didn't look this up, but wherever they shot it, there's a fair amount of martial arts that are outside. So the first scene looks like it's, almost like inside this like rocky, desertish camp. And then there's another one where they're in the woods. And then one scene I thought was actually pretty good too was, like I said, the fight scenes are extended. They're not quick. And sometimes they involve a lot of people. There's the scene where they're driving out on the Jeep and then they get stopped by the group of other people, and the posse's with them with like the girl, with the blonde girl and everything, and they all have their special things.
That irritated me because I'm thinking
but the scene was neat was because they're running away from the alien, but they would have like the drone shots, which I'm starting to like if they're done well, and you just see like the wheatgrass moving or something. I thought, okay, they chose a nice little place to have the scene to make it atmospheric, and I kind of like that. But it obviously was very choreographed, a la John Wick.
The major flaw with that scene is that the soldiers, all they did is come out and just start shooting them. They didn't even have to like wait for them to go run up to them. They just if they would open fire, all your JuJitsu you still would have been blown away. Sorry.
I'll tell you another flaw too, and it has to be said. We talked about Amy Johnston before, and she's a little powerhouse dynamo, knows her stuff. Not a massive individual in terms of her size. Obviously pretty. She's got the complete package. We keep saying she's going to break big in a huge movie one day. Does a lot of work. And the reason why Lady Bloodflight I thought was pretty successful is because she was, for the most part, around women that weren't necessarily too much bigger than her, or she would have to, use certain things to work on it, and it was believable. But when I see some of these women in these martial arts films that can take on an equally sized guy or a guy that's close to their size, like Tony Jaa's not a big dude, but he'd wipe out most women. Honestly, let's just be blunt. When we've talked about Gina Carano a little bit and Ronda Rousey just a bit, but mostly Gina Carano, where she's got the legitimate goods, but if she goes up against a 6'2" Alan guy, Canadian violence guy, no, it's just not going to happen. I mean, it's not that it couldn't. She's not skilled, but she's got some mastery and all that. But the whole strength thing and the believability of, like in this movie, a petite woman kicking ass like she does, it's like, I don't know. It really can get blatant in here.
I say it all comes down to experience. You can have a guy who looks like, Frank Grillo. Like, oh, he's all fancy, because he starts doing some like moves and stuff, and you get someone who's like Michelle Yao, who's been doing this whole entire life, who knows much more different style stuff, techniques.
She would get crushed.
No.
Squashed like a mosquito.
No. I said it all comes down.
Stepped on like an
comes
ant.
down experience, and it says, it's not like that's not like you're getting like Ruby Rose, who's never fought in her life before, going up against someone.
Well, now there's an old physics equation. One of the most famous ones, Newton's second law, F equals ma. Mass wins, buddy. And that's just a big thing to it. And part of it's not just the hitting, because you're right about techniques and matchups do make fights. That's interesting. But the big thing that most people don't seem to show a lot in martial arts films is that if you're having a conflict physically with somebody that's more massive than you, no matter how well you're doing or how able you are to fend off the other person, you get fatigued a lot quicker because you're trying to shrug off a lot more energy coming at you. And that's why there are weight classes like in boxing and stuff too. So in this movie, like I said, you get somebody like Nick Cage, who's a tall guy, and he's got a staff, which of course is, quite vertical and make him look really long. And I don't think they really play that to his advantage as much as they could have. But then you get like Tony Jaa, who they know exactly what you can do with, and they let him do what he does. And that's why I think his role in here, even though it was, to me, a minor one, was successful. So it's hard to let everybody shine equally in a film like this. So some may stick out more than others, and some you may go, I'm not quite sure who they are. But like I say, it wasn't a horrible film, but I can see why it bombed. This movie bombed when it came out in theaters. Nobody gave it good reviews, but for some reason, it's a hot thing with Nick Cage, and I guess it's getting a lot of quote unquote great reviews on Netflix or whatever it might be. Not that we can trust anybody's metrics these days, but does a movie like this offend you, or how do you feel about it?
Not really offended. If anything, it was just more annoying that they did the whole alien route. So, like, come on. Like, it didn't have... I mean, if anything, you took away the alien part and just say it's Shang Tsung, whatever it is, from Mortal Kombat, whatever it is.
Shang Tsung?
Shang Tsung? Yeah, and there you go. We got Mortal Kombat. Every 6 years, he comes and tries to go against the warriors. No, and it's supposed to be located in Burma. I think probably the worst acting in the film is the military place. You got the guy, the black guy in there. He thinks he's funny. Like he's a horrible translator. I'm like, this is probably a serious military outfit, and this guy is an idiot. I'm like, this felt like a Predator movie, and that guy would have been dead. But again, he survives. That was horrible.
Yeah, I'm trying to segue into a little bit of not totally spoiler filled thing, but a little bit about Wally's Wonderland with Nick Cage. All right, just a brief aside here, and I'll connect the two. I know you and I are both big AEW watchers. You're probably more a fan than I am. I have my issues with the show, but there's certain things I pop for. Like, for example, you had the Underground Temple Lucha Underground on FX or for a while, or for El Rey channel, excuse me. And there's a really nice angle that went on for one entire season of Pentagon Jr. who'd go around and he'd break somebody's arm. And he did this like every week. And then finally he had broke all the arms of these ladies that belonged to the Black Lotus Triad. And then at the big pay-per-view at the end of the season, the ladies came back, and all three of them teamed up on him and broke both his arms, which is a phenomenal angle. Well, in AEW wrestling right now, here in the lovely state of Florida, he's in there and he's got a handler with him. So now Penta's doing, I'm going to speak Spanish, and my handler's going to speak English. And this guy's got such a great dick vibe to him. He's like, Penta says, when Nick Cage shows you jujitsu, you're going to die. I mean, this guy is so incredible, over the top. I'm marking out every time I see it. It's silly, it's dumb, but it's effective, right? So here's the thing with Nick Cage. Nick Cage has that energy people like. We know sometimes we can say he seriously acts if you go back to the 80s, like a lot of us do. Not everybody. There's a younger Nick Cage crowd that likes these movies. He had a movie come out recently called Wally's Wonderland, which is awful. It's just horrible. But it's a lot more watchable than this film, and that you can go, really? They're doing this? And what it is he's a drifter that has like energy drinks, and a dude says, hey, I'll fix your car if you'll go in there and you'll clean up the whole place. And it's like a Chuck E. Cheese, right? They just don't call it that. It's got the animatronic robots and all that. The guy locks Cage in there, and Cage doesn't speak the entire movie, literally, because I guess that's great acting. But every hour he stops, plays pinball, and he drinks his energy drink, right? So they show him cleaning and mopping up. Mm-hmm. But what Nicolas Cage character in Wally Wonderland doesn't realize is it's a demon-filled place, and the town, of course, had to sacrifice people to it to keep the demons at bay. And so the demons come alive in these animatronic forms. So Nick Cage just goes about his business, and sure enough, they come to life, and he kills them one by one as they attack him. Otherwise, he goes back to cleaning. It's the dumbest, stupidest thing ever. But for Nick Cage fans like we are, that is a much more Nick Cage film than this one. So that's something we may be reviewing here soon. So if you haven't seen it, guys, check that out. I think it's a better watch than JuJitsu. You may disagree on it, but just in terms of what a Nick Cage film is, it's like Primal. You and I watched it. It wasn't great. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was a Nick Cage film.
And that's the thing, though. A lot of people are like, I hate Nick Cage. I'm like, well, then you shouldn't watch anything that he's in it, because you're just not going to like it. Because it's true with a lot of some of these actors. Will Smith, he plays Will Smith in every role he does. Either you like the actor or you don't like the actor.
Yeah, his lip trembling. He looked like he's almost ready to cry. Yeah, come on, Will Smith. Come on, son. Yeah.
But no, yeah, like Nick, I love Nicolas Cage movies. I still go back. I still watch. What was it? One with the Don't Touch the Bunny. The one they're on a plane. I forgot what it's called. I have to look it up again. It just kills me that I can't remember what the name of that movie is. You know what I'm talking about, Rob.
Not Face Off. You're talking
The other,
The Rock.
no, not The Rock.
Or is
There was the other one where he's a con.
No, the one on the plane.
And Steve Buscemi was like, "Isn't it?"
I know which one you're talking about. I can't think
Eric
of it.
Conway.
Yeah, that's just not funny. That's just not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or it was called Con Air.
Well, let me ask you this.
Con Air, that's what it was. I love him.
Con Air. That's it. That's it.
Don't touch.
Now, you did not see Wally's Wonderland, correct?
I
like Mandy, or Mandy I loved, but I liked his reboot of The Wicker Man, which I know is not a good film, but it's a Nick Cage film. Like I say, he's had personal issues in terms of finances, so he's making his movies. But one movie we have not talked about, in all seriousness, I don't think you would like it because it's extremely dark. But he was in a movie about snuff films, like in 98, 99, called 8mm.
I watched
Fantastic film.
Yeah, awesome movie. It was
yeah.
It was depressing.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
because normally you don't like this film, so usually I don't bring those up. But that's a fantastic Nick Cage film. I loved him in that.
It's Nick Cage, and that was was it 90s? Late 90s, probably.
Late 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as far as JuJitsu goes, like I say, it's there. It's a Nick Cage film. You can do worse.
It's on Netflix. It came out.
It's on Netflix currently right now.
Came out last year. It had a budget of $25 million. Only raked in 90,000. Holy
That means
crap.
I think it's released one day, so it could be cataloged as an actual theater release, due to contract statuses. These things happen, just like some movies are shelved. And then Netflix, I'm sure, paid a pretty penny for it like they did. I think Netflix was even trying to buy Godzilla vs. Kong, which we recently reviewed over here on the Xtreme Movie Show, too. Check that out. And check out Ease from I Love Comics review as well, because he's a butthurt Kong fan, and it was pretty interesting, some of the things he had to say, too. But that being said, I can totally see Kong versus Godzilla and Nick Cage as a special guest referee with Cage going over in a squash match. I don't know why, but that's Nick Cage, and we could see that happening. But, yeah, JuJitsu, not a good film. Just odd, just weird, just not fulfilling, I guess, even for Nick Cage fans is what I have to say about it. So I'm not going to tell you don't see it, because you, as a Nick Cage fan, want the Nick Cage element. You kind of get it in here, but there is a lot of martial arts in here and a lot of different things there too. It can pass up, 90 minutes if you're doing laundry or cooking dinner or whatever the hell you're doing around the house or whatever. So that's my final take on it. What's your final take?
If you can get bad the horrible alien CG plot, it's pretty good.
Yeah. We've definitely reviewed worse on this channel. I have to say that. But that being said, there you go, guys.
I mean, it's kind of hard to live up. It's kind of hard to live up to awesome movies like Shockma. You just can't. Once you see Shockma, you don't want to watch anything else.
Shockma, for those who are interested, check out our review. It's the super high def version is playing on Shudder right now currently. I rewatched it the other night, and it's even better than the version that I have, Doctor. I have to tell you that. So Shudder rules. Everything they have is great. It's unedited, and it's high quality stuff. There's a lot of great gems, horror gems on Shudder. My only concern is that we just don't get to talk about Shudder enough on this channel, and damn it, that's something we're going to have to fix. Understood, Doctor?
Yeah, Extreme Shudder, right?
Shudder is like $3 a month, for like a year and a half. You can get like a coupon code or whatever. It's totally worth it. No ads, nothing like that negative to say. Yeah, so there you go. JuJitsu, Nick Cage. Check it out, guys. Let us know what you think about it. We're Nick Cage fans, so we'll pretty much watch anything that he's in, especially if it's weird, because that's kind of extreme. If he starts doing romantic comedies, I'm not going to watch them. But if he does another bad martial arts film, I'll watch it.
He did one. It was called Mandy.
Mandy's phenomenal. You're right. That's a romantic movie. It absolutely is. It's tremendous.
Guy goes
Check
to
out
hell
Mandy.
and back. Yeah.
Mandy also showing on Shudder as well, at least here stateside, United States too. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. JuJitsu. Have a good night, everybody. Take care, and as always, stay extreme.
Extreme.
Extreme.